folks? Mark from Like-Minded Lunatics coming at you with a, well, I don't know what I'm coming at you with. To tell you the truth, I don't know what this is. So for me, this is February 15th. It is Fat Tuesday. Wait, is that 15th? Whatever it is, it's Fat Tuesday. And we have had a colossal storm here in Austin, Texas. So I thought it might be a good day to make some gumbo. And I thought you might want to stick around and see how I do it. And I thought I would enlist some help from Todd Roth, one of the members of our crew. For those of you who don't know Todd Roth, he is a blues musician. He plays in the band Comin Up Muddy, fantastic musician. So I gave him a call and I was like, hey man, I want to make some gumbo. You want to give me some music for that? And he was like, oh, sure. Can you give me some of the gumbo? I can't, Todd. It's literally a foot of snow outside. And he was very unhappy about that part of this deal. It's a lopsided deal. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna speed run through how I make gumbo. Todd's gonna play some blues music for you. Hopefully this is fun. I don't know where it's going on the channel. I don't know if it'll stay up on the channel. I really don't know what's gonna happen. It's a mystery to me as well. All right, so let me show you what I've got here. I've got all the ingredients that I'm gonna need. I am making a Cajun style gumbo. There's a difference between Cajun and Creole. Cajun style gumbo does not have okra in it, and it's thickened at the end with filet powder. So this is gonna be a Cajun gumbo. My wife is full on Cajun, so I love this type of food. So here's what we're gonna do. First, you gotta have your stock. Stock is very important. I've got a good seafood stock here that I made. In fact, I'll throw up how I made that in just a second. So essentially, I save up all of my shrimp tails and lobster carcasses and crawfish carcasses and freeze them. And then when I start to make gumbo, I just throw them all in a pot with some veg and let them sit there and simmer and get all nice in the pot. I also added in a little bit of better than bouillon and probably a quarter teaspoon of MSG. That's right, monosodium glutamate. Because it's good stuff. It don't give you a headache. That's a myth. It doesn't give you a headache. And the protein I'm going with 2 protein today, actually 3. I'm going with andouille sausage. That's a must for any gumbo. And then I'm gonna go with about 1.5 pounds of shrimp and some crab. Now, my father-in-law likes to say that you can put anything that walks, crawls, swims, or flies in a good gumbo. But today we're going with swimmers. We're going with swimmers. Well, I guess the pig would be a walker, wouldn't it? So walkers and swimmers is what we're going with. And then for my vegetables, you're gonna have to do, or I'm using the traditional Cajun Trinity. Cajun Trinity is essentially mirepoix with the carrots swapped out. So I'm going with 1.5 onion, green bell pepper, some celery, and I had a jalapeno in the fridge, so I'm gonna throw that jalapeno in there. And then about 6 cloves of garlic, and I've got a good bay leaf here. And then the other stuff, you gotta have Tabasco. I feel like you have to have Tabasco. I got a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, and then Tony Chachere's no salt. Don't buy the salt stuff. It's way more expensive, and it will throw your salt ratio way off. So wait to salt stuff. Buy the unsalted one. And then I've got a cup of flour and a cup of canola oil to make the roux. Now, I can hear you asking, well, exactly how much? Well, exactly how much, Mark? That's about a cup of each, oil and flour. And here's the thing, we're not baking, folks. We ain't baking, so we don't have to be super duper precise. But a general rule of thumb is this. When you're going with a traditional Cajun style roux, you want 2 tablespoons of fat to 2 tablespoons of flour per cup of water. So I've got about 6 cups of that stock, and that stock's good stuff, folks. It's rich, it's very rich. I feel like people ignore the stock of stews and gumbos, and it's the foundation. It's the foundation. You can go with water, I guess, if that's all you got, but why not get a nice stock? You know, when people use water, it reminds me of, I had a friend in high school. He had a car that had about $2,000 worth of Alpine stereo equipment in it, and the car was a $900 on a good day El Camino. And I was like, Sean, why are you wasting all that money on the speakers? Why don't you buy a car that has matching tires? No, he refused to do so. So I feel like the stock is like a good car. Good car. You need a good foundation to build off of. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start cutting stuff up. I'm going to put this sucker in fast motion, and I'm going to let Todd Roth play you some music. How about that? All right, Todd, you want to give him something to listen to?
So I got a buddy of mine who's a really good cook. He's a better writer, but he's a really good cook. And he calls me up and he says, hey man, I'm making gumbo, gonna shoot a video. I'll do that tonight. So here we are, making music for a video I ain't never seen. Thanks, Mark.
All right, folks, I've got everything cut. Hopefully you enjoyed that music from Todd. So what I've done is I've got everything basically cut into dice. So all of my veg is here, and then I've got my garlic separated because it goes in a little bit later. Then I've taken my andouille sausage and I've cut them into little half wheels like that. So here's what we're going to do. First off, we're going to go ahead and start searing that andouille sausage. So I'm going to get a nice thick Dutch oven, a little bit of oil in there, and then I'm going to start making the roux in just a second once this andouille starts to cook. So why don't you do this? Why don't you have another listen to some music from Todd? I'll put this on fast forward for you so you're not just watching me cook stuff, and you can listen to Todd. All right, so go ahead, Todd, take us away.
I better get some of this gumbo.
Pause for a second there, Todd. So I've got the oil heated up and I've got my flour mixed in. Again, the ratio is typically 2 tablespoons of oil to 2 tablespoons of flour per cup of liquid. I'm going to have about 8 cups of liquid, so I've got a cup of flour and a cup of canola oil in there. Now, if you got 10 Cajuns in the room and 10 Creole in the room and you ask them how to make gumbo, you'll probably get 55 different answers and 2 or 3 fist fights. But in general, when you're doing darker roux, when you're taking a roux to the brick stage, you probably want to go with a high smoke point oil and not butter. You can do it. You can do it. I've watched videos of Paul Prudhomme doing it, and I've taken a butter roux pretty dark. But in general, butter has got a lot of milk fats or milk solids in there, and those will burn. So you want something that's higher heat. And so it's probably best to go with something like canola. Some people will do peanut oil. I don't really like the flavor of peanut oil. So I go with a clean, neutral oil like canola. So I'm going to brown this sausage. I'll probably pull it. I'll pull it when it gets to be brown, as brown as I like it, and then I'll start sauteing down my vegetables and working on my roux. Roux's not hard, you guys. Please don't go buy roux. It's very easy to make. All you got to do is kind of keep a little bit of an eye on it. And some folks will do it in the same pot. So some people will start the roux over here and do everything in one pot. You can do it, but I find you have a much greater control if you do the roux in a separate pot, use some vegetables to stop the cooking process, and then mix it all back in together. But you do you. If you don't want to dirty up a pot, do it all in the same damn pot. I don't care. It's your gumbo. It's not mine. All right, Todd, take it away. Pause. So the roux is this is kind of the blonde stage. Actually, it's not even to the blonde stage yet. At this point, I've got the fire at, I don't know, medium low maybe. If I was just paying attention to this, I would probably put the spurs to it and have it at least medium high. But because I'm doing 2 things at once, I don't want to burn that. So I pulled my sausage. You could have just left all the sausage in there, but I like the kind of the difference in textures and stuff when it's seared and then taken out. And I'm going to put in 3/4 of my vegetables in there. Now, I'm going to turn the heat down to about medium-low on that, and I'm going to use Big pinch of salt here. Why salt? Well, because salt's going to pull out the moisture, and I want all that vegetable to sweat and cook way, way down. And to do that, you need to pull the moisture out, so use salt. All right, this will take a while. Todd, back to you, buddy. Now you can see the roux has gotten to the color of almost like milk chocolate. When you smell it, it almost smells like movie theater popcorn. It's real nutty and it smells fantastic. I've gotten my vegetables cooked down a good ways. They're not quite as cooked down as I'd like to see them. My father-in-law likes to cook them down where they're almost disappearing. But now's the time that I usually like to season them, give them a little bit of that Tony Chachere's. The reason I do that is in Indian cooking, it's really popular to do what's called bloom your spices, and essentially that means just put your spices into oil and kind of wake them up. And so that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to put it right there on the top of it, give it a little bit of a mix around, make sure it's on low so nothing burns. And that was probably half a tablespoon maybe, and let that start to kind of get all nice. And like I said, my roux is almost at the color that I want it. It's kind of at that chocolate phase, not quite brick. Again, you ask 10 people, you get 20 different answers. But for the most part, a seafood gumbo is usually got a little bit lighter of a roux than, say, a chicken gumbo. Looks like I lost my GoPro, folks. I'm gonna have to grab me another battery real quick. All right, folks, lost my GoPro. Had to go get the other one. All right, so roux, we're almost at the color I want it to be at. Look at that, it's a dark, dark color. It's almost at that brick stage, and it smells just lovely. The vegetables, they are cooking down. They're very, very soft. They're just starting to kind of disappear. Now's the time I'm going to introduce the garlic. Garlic will burn, so you want to add that at the very end when you're almost done cooking your vegetables. And this roux just looks fantastic, doesn't it? Look at that. Almost a caramel color, really dark. I'm going to give that a stir. But it is at this point where you got to really watch it like a hawk, because, like I said, if you burn a roux, you can't save it, man. You got to just ditch it and start all over. But that's also the beauty of doing this in two pots. Number one, it gives you a lot more control as far as flavor is concerned, but it also gives you that safety net. If I burn this, I can just turn this off and do this again. But I ain't gonna burn it. Let's not burn it. Let's just do it right the first time. How about that? All right. Ooh, that smells delicious. Now, like I said, I told you a moment ago that, or a few minutes ago, that I was only going to use about 3/4 of my vegetables over here. And the reason for that is because I like to use my vegetables, about 1/4 of the vegetables, as a braking system for this. So I get this right up to the color I want. I can ride the knob if I want to. And once it gets to that color I want, turn off the heat, throw in the rest of those vegetables, and it takes the heat out of it and stops the cooking. So I'll show you that in just a second. Let's get this a little bit softer. There we go. Ooh-wee, look at that roux. All right, there we go. That's about the color I want it. You can, I don't know if you can see it, but I can see that there are some grains in there that are getting pretty dark. They're getting to get to that brick stage, doing a little bit of popping. Oh no, what's gonna happen? Is it too hot? Am I gonna end up burning that roux? No, we're not. We're just gonna throw that vegetable right in there and turn the heat off. Watch what happens now. It starts to fry that vegetables. There we go. Look how dark it gets once you hit it with that vegetable and it starts cooling down. There, see how it's changing color? It's because it's cooling down. Now, a lot of people, when they do roux like this, they'll end up making more than they need and freezing some of it. Because in good dirty rice, you got to put roux in there. And so, let's say we know a couple days from now we're going to be making dirty rice or, you know, whatever. Could just save some of this, pop it in the freezer, and then you wouldn't have to go through this stirring business again. Look at that now. I don't know if you can tell. It has just taken on a really dark, rich color. And boy, it smells good, let me tell you. All right, now it's cooled down some. This is about the color I want. Introduce that sausage back to the party. There we go. All right, folks, I'm going to kill the heat there. Now, one thing to consider, this looks like chocolate. Don't lick the whisk. It'll burn your tongue right off. This shit is as hot as napalm. All right. Let's go ahead and move this over. So many contraptions up here, it's hard to maneuver, folks. All right, give that a little bit of heat. All right, everybody in the pool. Don't want to waste an ounce of that roux that we just spent so long lovingly making. There you go. Get your ass in there, roux. There we go. Now, again, look how dark and luscious that got. Just like chocolate. All right, now we're going to introduce our stock to the party. If I can find my stock. What do I do with my stock? Stock. I found it, don't worry. Now once you get that stock in there, what you'll see is it'll start to thicken up real quick. Make sure you kind of stir and then bump your heat up.
The interesting thing about roux is that it is a thickener, obviously, but it loses its thickening power the darker that it gets. So the darker of a roux you make, the more of it you need to reach your desired thickness of the gumbo. Now, almost all gumbos are thickened twice. First with the roux, then if you're Creole, you thicken later with okra, put okra in it, and if you're Cajun, you put filet powder in at the very end. Filet powder is made from the leaves of the sassafras tree. Come up to temperature. You can start tasting at this point too. It's good, so deep and rich. You can taste that nuttiness of that dark roux. You can taste that we seared the sausage. It's got that like Maillard taste, that Maillard reaction that creates that really, really deep glutamate-rich flavor. So I'm going to bring this up to probably up to a simmer here, and I'm going to add, you know what, I'm going to add some more 20 centuries in. Probably add, what do you think that is? think it's a teaspoon, probably a teaspoon. And if you notice, we only salted once so far, and that was to pull the liquid out of our vegetables. We'll salt a little bit in just a minute, and then we'll salt right before we finish the dish. But you want to salt as you go along. Don't do it all in one big go at the end. That way you can kind of control everything a little bit better. All right, Todd, hit him with some music.
Figure out my t-shirt, it's ham bone cigar box guitars. Friend Kevin Hamilton up near up north of Austin. Super talented builder. He builds nice guitars. I build ugly guitars that sound cool. Kevin builds pretty guitars that sound cool. We each have our thing.
All right, folks, we're about 95% there. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add in a bay leaf. Go ahead and check the seasonings. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I may add a little bit more of the Tonys. Not a lot, just a little bit. I'm going to do some dashes of some Tabasco. Boop, 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 boop. And then we're going to do a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Not a lot, you know, just a little bit, just to give it that, that kind of meaty flavor. A little bit of black pepper. And a little bit more salt. Not a lot, probably, I don't know, it's probably like a teaspoon or so. But I've been kind of salting as I go, so, you know. Now, at this point, I'm sure some of you are asking, Mark, I thought this was a shrimp gumbo. At this point, we have not even messed with the shrimp. And that's right, because you really only want to put the shrimp in about 10 minutes before you serve. Shrimp will overcook very, very easily. So what I typically like to do is I'll dry brine the shrimp with a little bit of baking soda. That'll actually make them kind of pop. That's what a lot of Chinese restaurants do. And I'll marinate, dry brine those, sorry, not marinate, dry brine them for, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or so. Bring this up to a simmer and then throw them in with some scallions, filet powder, and put the lid on and kill the heat. And by the time everybody gets their bowls made of rice and starts spooning it out, those shrimp will be cooked. So let me throw in that, go ahead and throw that crab in there so you can see that going in. There we go. Always make sure you pick through your crab. Sometimes there's shells in there. You don't want somebody cutting their mouth open. I don't know, maybe you do. I don't know who you're eating with. I don't want my people cutting their mouth open. Give that a stir. And then we'll just kind of let this simmer. Now you might want to top up with water, whatever, to get it the consistency that you like. But right now, that is a beautiful, beautiful looking gumbo. The thickness is kind of on, you know, it's kind of whatever you like. This is what's called nappe, when you can draw a line through it on the back of a spoon. And that's about what you want. Some people like it thicker, some people like it, damn, that's good. Some people like it thicker, some like it thinner. You do you, I'll let you do you. All right, so I'm gonna let it simmer for a little while. I'm gonna let Todd play some music, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how I finish it when I throw in the shrimp, the scallions, and the filet powder. All right, Todd, give him something to listen to.
I better get some of this gumbo.
All right, folks, we're almost done. Let's finish this thing off. You see I've got everything at a simmer, and boy, everything is looking really good. So now I'm going to throw in my shrimp. Now, like I said before, I like to dry brine my shrimp, so I mixed them with some of that Tony Chachere's, and then some kosher salt and a little bit of baking soda. Baking soda will make the shrimp kind of pop, and it's a good trick if you've got shrimp that are not fresh, but not right from the Gulf. You know what I'm saying? So it's a pretty good trick to make them taste fresher than they actually are. So I'm gonna go ahead and stir those in, and while I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead, pop in about a teaspoon of filet powder. Like I said, filet powder is the leaves of the sassafras tree, and it's a thickening agent that you put in at the very end. It also gives it kind of a distinct flavor. So put that in, maybe about a teaspoon or so. Stir all that up. Those shrimp are starting to heat through, and then right at the end, I'm going to hit it with a handful of scallions or green onions, whatever you want to call them. It just kind of gives it that bright flavor right there at the end. Boom. Boy, it looks good. The shrimp are already starting to get good and cooked. It's the point to taste for last seasonings, you know? That's good. Let me hit it with a little more salt. And a little bit more salt. And then, you know what? Why don't we do that? All right, folks. Well, that's it. Now I'm gonna make some rice and load up a bowl. Look at that. Doesn't it look good? Well, I hope this was fun. I'm gonna let Todd play us out. Thanks again to Todd Roth for providing me with some gumbo making music. Please go check out Todd Roth's stuff on Spotify and Amazon Music. I think he's also in the Google store. His band is called Comin Up Muddy. And if you'd like to see some more of Todd's collaborations with me and Todd Wright, you can check out The Ballad of Cutman's Bridge, which was a dinner show that we did and performed in Austin, Texas 2 years ago. Todd wrote all of the music for that, and we performed it live at Eden East in Austin, so you can go check that out. All right, folks, let me know if this was fun for you. If it was, we'll do another one. If it wasn't, we won't do any more. All right, take care. I'll see you soon.